Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we're going to review A Banquet from IFC Midnight. This is going to be fun. Let me introduce my co-host, and that is the one and only Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm hungry. I'm hungry for reviews.
Hungry for reviews. Oh wow! All right. I don't even know where to go with that.
I don't know where to go with that either.
That's awesome. All right. So we have something a little unique this evening because of I dropped a ball on my end and the screener I had expired. So Christopher G. Mohr is the only eyeballs that have seen the film, so he's going to do our first solo review. So I am going to hand this over to him after I show off the card. So what we want to do is thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy this review and many others that we have on the site. We would appreciate if you hit the like button, the subscribe button, or share with a friend. It would do us honors, and of course, we'd love to hear your comments. But let's take a look at the film we're talking about tonight. It's called A Banquet from IFC Midnight. It's in select theaters and on demand February 18th. Director is Ruth Paxton. Writers Justin Bowl. The cast includes Sienna Guillory, Jessica Alexander, Ruby Stokes, Lindsay Duncan, Kaine Zajaz. No, that's not right, but I'm going with it. Richard Keefe. Synopsis is a widowed mother is radically tested when her teenage daughter insists a supernatural experience has left her body in service to a higher power. Wow. Okay. So I am going to turn this over to Christopher G. Mohr to give us our review, his favorite scene, and a score of 1 to 5. You ready to do this, sir?
Sure.
Let's do it.
So A Banquet. I feel like if this were a TikTok meme, it would be like, say your A24 film without being an A24 film. And that's basically what this is. It's a very weird film. It has a lot of weirdness that you find in A24 type movies. It deals with this family. They're dealing with the issue with the daughter who this certain event happens when she goes out in the woods and she starts acting differently and thinking there's some kind of weird thing happening to her. And the mom's trying to deal with it, trying to find out if it's physical, and everybody keeps telling her it's mental. So the film is a very slow burn, and also there's a lot of weird stuff, fetishes involving food. And I think in the same way, in a similar way that Hannibal, when you watch that film, it's like, ooh, I want to taste that, I want to try that. This film makes you, it's very unappetizing in its view of food in general. So it feels like there's this underlying thing, maybe involving eating disorders or mental issues and that kind of thing. And by the end of it, you start to question what's happening. So, I mean, I liked a lot of the visual things. There's a lot of really good visual cinematography used in this. And there's some really kind of shocking moments, but the ending just kind of goes off the rails. And it's weird when the spookiest moments are just like people talking about things. So there's like one moment where like, the grandma, she's like telling this story that kind of ties into the daughter, because the daughter is sort of like, when you're watching it, you're trying to question if this is like if it's a vampire film, if it's this or it's that, and by the end of it, you don't really get any kind of real answers. So I'd really kind of compare it to Saint Maud and the weirdness of it, and the confusion of the story. And it just has a lot of weird moments that don't really explain themselves, and then it's just really a very sort of dire ending to it. So yeah, A Banquet, I mean, visually it's interesting to watch, but I mean, literally I didn't want to eat anything after watching this, because they took like eating just normal pieces of food, just made it very as unappetizing and gross as possible. But there are some good horror-wise. There are a few kind of cool horror type scenes, especially towards the end. But by the end, you sort of get frustrated, especially with the mom character. and you don't really understand what's going on. And even though they sort of like have some kind of weird explanation, it's a very sort of like, it's one of those sort of, you don't know if the narrative is, if it's if it's a true if the narrator is true in regards to the story, or if it's just like, because there's so much questions you have by the end of it, and it kind of ends on a weird note. So overall, yeah, the film is interesting, but it feels very it, because it doesn't answer a lot of the questions that you have, and it doesn't fulfill a lot of the things that you think where it might go. It doesn't have enough real meat to sustain the mystery behind it. Pardon my food analogies, like I like to do, which is, I guess, is the perfect movie to do that. So yeah, it's interesting, but if you like A24 type films, like Lamb or Saint Maud, those type of things, this probably might be up your alley. I think for me, there's a lot of people who be like, yelling WTF at the end of the movie, because it just like, oh, really? I don't know. I think you want it to be a whole lot more than what it is. But there are some really creepy, weird moments. So final impression, it's an interesting film to watch. I think you should check it out. But just know going into it, it's very weird, and there's not a lot of explanation as to certain elements that happen. And then by the end of it, you're not even sure what to believe, if this is real, if it's not, that kind of thing. So that can be very annoying for certain audience members. As for rating, I will give it a I'll give it a 3.25, I guess. I mean, it's sort of middle ground for me. I think the visuals is what sells it for me, and the acting is superb, but it's just like it tries to be so mysterious that you need a little bit more information to sort of fully understand. And I think it kind of drops the ball by the end of it. As for favorite scene, there's a scene that it's one of those moments you always have in movies where they explain a certain story and then that story comes to life. Well, there's a story involving, let's say, a mouth in the back of the head that I thought was very gross and weird and creepy, and I think that's probably my favorite scene of the film. So that's my quick, easy take on A Banquet. I think it's worthy of consuming in small amounts, but I can see it being one of those films where some people hate it, some people might like it, and some people be like, what did I just watch? And I think I was like, what did I watch?
Well, that was quite the appetizer there. I appreciate that. No, that didn't work. But anyway, we'll try it anyhow. Looking forward to catching that someday. Thank you so much, Christopher. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the review, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on A Banquet from IFC.
No problem. And if you get a chance to watch it, let us know what you thought. If you thought it was weird AF, or if it was cool, or whatever.
All right. Thank you so much. So say good night.
Good night.